Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Victor Quintana, and in today's video we are going to be going over some of the cool new features that Leica included in the Leica Firmware Update 3.0 for the Leica SL2-S. I don't know why I just said 006, it's certainly 601. Leica SL2 and Leica SL2-S. So if you're interested, stick around. Alright guys, so now that I've gotten my composure, let's talk about some of these cool features that Leica put into this new firmware update. The first one being the fact that they have updated the autofocus system specifically for head, eye, and body detection. Whereas before it worked alright for slow moving subjects, now it actually works really well with subjects that are moving normally or at really fast pace. So definitely something that I have been waiting for Leica to improve. They still are doing contrast-based autofocus, which, you know, I hope they get away from with the next iteration of the SL body. I've used other cameras that have the phase detection, and it's absolutely incredible, the autofocus in those cameras. Leica would just be so much better if they went from contrast to phase detection. That's just my opinion. You're welcome to disagree, but I think that would be like cream of the crop, like the cherry on top, really, if they change that. But moving on to the next feature, let's talk about the fact that with this new firmware update, now you don't even need an external recorder. You can record directly onto the card in 10-bit 4K 60 frames per second, which I think is absolutely awesome. If you're running and gunning, you don't want to set up a recording monitor with a hot shoe and a cage and everything like that. I think that's a super nice feature to have. Although one downside of it is the fact that because Leica's design has not included the variable flip out screens that other manufacturers use, it would be kind of difficult to see the back of the screen, especially for a couple different angles. So most likely I'm still going to be using some sort of monitor or recorder when I'm filming, but for running gun situations, I think that's an awesome new feature that Leica decided to add to this camera body. Another great thing, especially for those of you that film interviews or long form videos, is that there is no recording limit on this camera anymore, which is absolutely awesome. And I'm really excited to be using that feature, especially because this camera does not overheat like some other cameras that I've heard of other people using. I believe those cameras like start with an R and have like a 6 or 5 next to the, I don't know. There's so many camera brands these days that, I don't know, they're all overheating. Except for Leica's, weird. Now, another cool feature that it's segmented video. So basically, if you're recording to the SD card, the segmented video breaks the videos down into individual files, so you never lose more than a minute of footage. The downside to it would be the fact that if you import all those clips into your post-editing software, you would have to manually go in there and put all those clips together, which, you know, it's not ideal and sounds very time consuming. But if there was a case where something happened where an SD card failed on you during some sort of recording or something like that, that's kind of a really cool feature that saves everything that you were shooting prior instead of having to reshoot everything. So very cool feature. Now, another cool thing that I'm really excited for is the fact that now you can add LUTs to the camera. That's right. You can add your own LUTs to these SL bodies. Before, they came with 2 LUTs pre-installed into the camera, but now while I'm shooting for a client, the client's on location and they want to see what the footage is looking like, now I can pre-install a LUT that I think we're going to be using in post-editing to color the film, and the client can see a little bit more or less what the final outcome of the footage is going to look like. So that's a really cool feature, I think, with this new firmware update, and I'm very much looking forward to using that. Now, another great feature that I don't know if any other cameras are using this. If they are, please correct me down in the comments below. But they added this thing called image overlay. And where I find use for that is if I'm out scouting a new location for a shoot or something like that, you can actually take an image of the scene that you're looking to grab And you know, a couple days later or the next day when it's actual production day, you can take that image and overlay it on your live feed, whether that be the LCD or the EVF, and you can line up your shot exactly how you took it on that scouting day. I think that's a super neat feature, and I'm really excited to try that out because there have been times where, you know, I take a photo with like my iPhone and I try to put it in the exact same grid when I'm looking through the camera. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so I'm pretty excited to try this out. Hopefully it'll be beneficial. If you've tried it yourself, please let me know in the comments below how it's worked for you, and I'd be really interested to see how some people use that feature. So let me know. Now, one of the bigger updates from this firmware is the fact that you can set up to 3 follow focus points, which is awesome. If you saw my last video, I went over the full metal jacket cage for the Leica SL2 and SL2-S. In that video, I show you how I adapted a small rig follow focus to the cage in order to pull focus with the Leica SL2. Now, the fact that you're able to set 3 separate follow focus points is awesome because most of the time I'm using the 24-90, and as you know, it does have the infinity focusing ring. So setting those points with the follow focus knob was kind of a moot point because since it is the infinity ring, I would just like go over those points and it wouldn't have the focus there. So having the ability to set those points directly in the camera, then you can actually set the pins in the follow focus motor exactly to match those that you've set in the camera. I think is absolutely awesome. I'm super excited to try that out, and I will hopefully be posting some videos showing that feature specifically because that's one that I'm really excited about. So stay tuned for that next video. Another feature I wanted to just quickly mention, though I normally would do this on my external recorder anyways, is the fact that they added a waveform function directly to the camera. So now you can add waveforms on the back of the LCD screen or the EVF, and you can see more accurately your exposure. I most likely won't be using this just because, as I said, I usually record to an outside monitor or recorder anyways, and they have their own waveforms that I use. But if you're running and gunning, it's a cool little feature you can throw on. Now, this next feature, not a big deal. Other cameras have been using this feature for quite some time, but it's a nice little feature. It's a nice little addition that Leica decided to throw in, and that's basically adding a recording frame around your LCD screen. So if you've ever used the Atomos Ninja 5 or the Shogun, whenever you hit record, there's a red box that outlines a frame indicating that you are in fact recording. And now they've brought that feature to the Leica SL cameras, and I think that's an awesome little feature to have. Not a huge difference maker, but still nice to have, so that way you know when you're recording. There are times when I'm recording with my GH5, which I'm recording right now on, and I sometimes completely forget that it's recording because the GH5 only has that little red dot on it. So it is kind of a cool feature, and I'm excited to start using that as well. Now, another feature that I think was kind of cool, not a big one, but just a subtle feature that they added, was the fact that they've now separated the video format menu, and they've created a sub menu for full HD slow motion. So that's where you'll find your 180 frames per second, 120 frames per second, so on and so on. Before, you had to dive into the main menu and kind of search through a bunch of different video formats. Now they've taken all those high-speed frame rates and put them in their own little category, which makes it very convenient to get to. I thought that was kind of a cool feature that Leica added into this firmware. Now those are kind of just my own personal top features. They definitely added more features in this firmware update, and you can get a better sense of all the new features and a little bit more information about each one of them over on reddotforum.com. They did an awesome article about the firmware update. You can get there by visiting this little link up here. Definitely check that out after finishing this video though. Now, if you have any questions about the firmware update or any questions about Leica gear specifically, I invite you to leave them down in the comments below. I am compiling a list of different video ideas from different questions that people have sent me either in the DMs on Instagram or have commented down in one of my videos. And I'm trying to create those videos as quickly as I possibly can and answer those questions as best as I possibly can. And that's really kind of why I make these videos in general. I know that there's not a bunch of information about Leica cameras or about Leica gear online, so I'm trying to just do my part and kind of spread out as much information as I possibly can. Being the fact that I did work for Leica for a little bit, I kind of a Leica nut in the sense of I want to have more creators adapt to the Leica ecosystem. I think they are phenomenal cameras, exceptional customer service, and honestly, they're just beautiful. Like, they are a beautiful piece of machinery. Like, I don't know, they just look sexy, right? I don't know. Okay, I'm getting off topic here. So until next time, my name is Victor Quintana, and if you enjoyed this video, definitely give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing. It takes 2 seconds and actually goes a long way. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Toodles.